Did Azzaro make a good elixir? Let's find out and review Azzaro Forever Wanted Elixir now. Hey, what's good guys? Hunter here and welcome back to the channel. We're uploading weekly fragrance content, so you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future videos, and be sure to follow me over on my Instagram page. But today, we have the brand new hot off the shelves Azzaro Forever Wanted Elixir, which honestly, when I seen this, I was so hyped to try it out because I'm a big fan of the Wanted line. And I own pretty much every single one from the line beside maybe like Tonic, which I believe was even discontinued like a year after it came out because it got a bunch of backlash with that launch. But man, this one right here is something to talk about, and I'm so excited to be reviewing it for you guys today. Because Azzaro is finally entering that elixir kind of trend going on now, which by the way, elixir doesn't really necessarily mean anything. It's not like an oud fragrance or anything like that. It's kind of basically their take on making like a beast mode strong fragrance is how I kind of interpret it. Azzaro definitely was not messing around with this brand new launch, even though it does remind me of two different fragrances, and I'll let you know which two fragrances that is a little bit later. But before I do, I also want to shout out Azzaro for sending this one over for review. Of course, that's not going to change my opinions on it. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it, and if I don't, I don't. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. So let's go to some information. Now, this was, of course, launching in 2025. It just came out, just hit stores within like this month at the time of this recording. For the retail price, only two sizes this one comes in, which is a 50 ml, is gonna run you $115, or you can get the 100 ml like I have in hand for $145. Now, to be honest with you guys, for being an elixir, that's actually a very reasonable, affordable price, because most elixirs are at least ranging from like $185 all the way up to like $250 when it comes to designers. So I do respect Azzaro for keeping the price a little bit down with their new elixir. The concentration is in extrait de parfum, which is the highest of perfume oils used in a fragrance, so you know you're getting something dense, but you obviously expect that from an elixir flanker. The perfumers behind Forever Wanted Elixir is Honorine Blanc, Clement Gavery, and Sophie Labe, who are actually three well-known perfumers in the industry. So you know some good noses went with the creation of this one, and you can definitely tell. So with all the information out of the way, let's look at the presentation and packaging you get with Forever Wanted Elixir now. All right, take a look at the bottle, which I only have the bottle in hand since mine came in a PR box, which was actually sick. It came like this gold suitcase, but the bottle in and of itself is this very nice looking full golden bottle, which I'm a big fan of gold bottles like this one. If you don't know the Azzaro Wanted line, it has this kind of revolver kind of style around, which is very unique. I know a lot of people love this design with Azzaro on the front, and this glass on the bottom is see-through, so you can look at your juice level, which is always nice. On the bottom, you have your sticker with your batch code to authenticate a product and see when it was produced. And then inside of the cap, there's nothing on the atomizer, but it does click into place very securely. In the top, you have raspberry, mandarin, and bergamot. In the mid, you have cardamom, lavender, and clary sage. And in the base, you have leather, wolfwood, and vetiver, and this will be classified as a leather fruity. So let's spray this and test out these atomizers. Decent atomizer, even though it's not pressurized, it does actually shoot out a lot of juice. So let's go ahead and remind myself of the brand new Forever Wanted Elixir now. So immediately in the opening, you're gonna get one of the best, juiciest, fruitiest raspberry notes I've ever smelled in a fragrance, guys. You're gonna get an overdose of this very watery raspberry note immediately. So if you're a fan of raspberry fragrances, this is gonna be something you're gonna wanna check out like hands down, because I think you'll really enjoy the opening of the brand new Wanted. This has this ultra addictive opening. I could see this doing extremely well in department stores because that opening just absolutely captivates you. I'm not getting much of the mandarin or bergamot. It's just raspberry straight and forward, and it's honestly extremely well done. Like I said earlier, this does remind me of two other fragrances. You guys might guess one of them from that note breakdown, which is, of course, Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford, which was my first private blend I ever purchased back in like maybe 2017. Still have my bottle over there, but that is also a raspberry leather focused fragrance. I will say the opening of this one, it doesn't really smell like Tuscan Leather until it starts to dry down a little bit, but the other fragrance that comes to my mind is Tumi's 19 Degree, which is also a raspberry leather suede fragrance, which is, by the way, my favorite to me fragrance as well out of like 8 of them. So me loving Tuscan leather, me loving 19 Degree, you already know I'm gonna love this one. It's right up my alley. I will say though, I think this has the best opening compared to those two. It's just so addictive. And then once you make your way into the mid of Forever Wanted, you are gonna get this very seductive, spicy, sexy cardamom note. The cardamom in here is extremely dominant. It still goes alongside that raspberry. The raspberry is not going anywhere anytime soon, at least. So you get that very fruity, juicy raspberry mixed together with this seductive, sexy, spicy cardamom. You also do get a little bit of this aromatic qualities from the lavender and sage, but it's not an aromatic fragrance at all. It's more so spicy and fruity. And then once you make your way into the base, you are gonna be left with this very dark, rugged leather note that is somewhat smoky. There is this nice smoky aspect about it, mixed together with that wolfwood, which just brings out this nice woodiness. I'm not really familiar with the smell of wolfwood. I don't know if it smells smoky. I don't know if that's where the smoke's coming from, but I believe the smoke's coming from the leather because you're gonna get a nice kind of smoky pinch in here. And the base of this one does remind me mostly of Tuscan leather. So you're gonna get like the to me 19 Degree opening mixed together with that Tuscan leather base. So if you're familiar with either of those ones and you like those, you're gonna love this. Even though it's not a clone of either of those, because you are gonna get the cardamom that's very dominant in here that does set it apart. But that raspberry does remind me of 19 Degree, and the leather reminds me of Tuscan leather, which is not a bad thing at all. So if you love fruity, spicy, leathery fragrances, this is gonna be something you wanna go ahead and check out. It also doesn't smell like anything else from the Wanted line. This one is completely different, so it's not redundant if you own any others in this collection, because it smells like a totally different fragrance. Like if I smelled this one, I would have never guessed it's it within the Wanted line, like pretty much at all, guys. Which is, I think, a good thing, because of course we don't want redundancy in fragrances, even though it could possibly be a little bit redundant to me's 19 Degree. But I know a lot of people don't really know much about that particular fragrance, but if you do own it, this one might be redundant to own because it is very similar to that. But if you love that fragrance, then I think you still could get this one because it is different enough to enjoy both of them like as different fragrances. But me, I'm a huge fan of this DNA, so I'm gonna be wearing this one a ton alongside, of course, 19 Degree and Tuscan leather. So for the best seasons to rock Forever Wanted Elixir, I'm primarily gonna wear this one during the colder seasons like fall and winter for sure, but also maybe like on spring evenings. I think this could work out perfectly. Just kind of stay away from like hot, humid summer days, because I can see this one becoming extremely cloying just because it's fruity, spicy, and leathery, which isn't really good for like the warm, hot weather. It's not aquatic, it's not salty, it's not marine, like it's not really like this sunny solar fragrance either. So it does have heavy, potent, dense, deep notes within this one. Of course, also being an elixir, I don't really even think there's any elixirs primarily suited for like the summertime when I think about it. Most of them are for like the colder weather. This particular one's absolutely no different, which is kind of a strange time to release this one because it came out going into spring and summer. So I'm glad I'm getting my review out now and I've already tested it, because I don't picture myself wearing this one during the hot days. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't. If you love this fragrance, it's your favorite fragrance of all time, and just be cautious with this, at least with the sprays on hot days, because it can become very sickening. For occasion, I do think when it comes to that, it's pretty versatile. It can be worn and dressed down in like a casual setting. It can also be worn and dressed up in a more formal setting. And it's mostly because like the fruitiness from the opening, which makes it a little bit casual, but as it starts to dry it down with the cardamom, the leather, etc., the woodiness, it does lean on the formal side as well too. So how I pretty much picture wearing this one, I primarily picture wearing this one on a date night. It's a very seductive, sexy, fruity, like I said earlier, very addictive. So whoever you're going out with is gonna be addicted to you, addicted to smelling you, addicted to your fragrance, which is a good thing. I guess I just wouldn't really picture myself wearing this one that much to work, especially if you're working like an office environment. It doesn't really give me office vibes. It's not like a clean, soapy, crowd-pleasing fragrance like that. So more so suited for date nights, evenings out, and more formal situation. When it comes to gender, I do see this one leaning on the masculine side of things at the end of the day, because something about the scent profile being like rugged, smoky, leathery, woody, Get that nice fruity raspberry with the spicy cardamom. It does lean on the masculine side rather than feminine, especially when I think of like Tuscan leather, which is a very masculine fragrance. It's in the same realm as that, even though this one I do think is a little bit more unisex than something like Tuscan leather. So if you're a woman watching this one, it sounds good, it sounds appealing to you, you can definitely check it out. On your skin, it might even pull out some more of like the sweet fruitiness compared to like the woody, smoky leatherness, which is actually a real thing, believe it or not. Women's skin actually pull out more like the feminine notes of fragrances, and men's skin usually pull out like the more masculine notes. At least from my testing, when I test fragrances on my skin compared to like my girl's skin, sometimes they smell almost completely different. But at the end of the day, it is a masculine leaning fragrance. When it comes to age groups, I do picture this one leaning a little bit more on the mature side, even though you do have that kind of fun, outgoing, fruity sweetness in the opening. So I guess it could be pretty versatile, both youthful and mature, which I know some wanteds in the line do lean pretty mature. I believe like Eau de Toilette Intense, which has that booziness about it. So I guess I will say this one is down the middle, youthful and mature. So if you're somebody out there that likes fruity, kind of leathery fragrances, try this one out. Regardless if you're like in your late teens, early 20s, or like even 30s, 40s and up. I can see pretty much everybody enjoying wearing this one at the end of the day. So wrapping the review off, talking on the performance you should expect from Forever Wanted Elixir, which by the way is kind of a strange name. I wish they just called this Wanted Elixir and made it very simple, but they kind of do that with every single Wanted line. They have like the Most Wanted, Wanted by Night, Wanted EDP, the Original Wanted, etc., which is very confusing. I digress, guys. This is an elixir, so you're gonna get elixir performance, thankfully, with this at least. This was actually my scent of the day today, and I wore it a couple times prior. So for my testing on skin, I got up to that 12-hour mark, but the 12-hour mark was kind of pushing it, and that's kind of my standard for an elixir flanker. So without a doubt, above average performance with this one, especially better than the other flankers in the line. So I have no complaints whatsoever with the longevity, guys. This one, it does last the majority of the day. I don't see anybody really being disappointed with it unless you just have terrible skin chemistry, then that might be a different thing. But on clothes, if you want to spray clothes, this will get you up to like 24 hours of longevity. So it doesn't really perform the best on skin for you. Spray your clothes and you're gonna be set. When it comes to the projection, this is where it actually surprised me, because most of the time elixirs don't usually project the best, unlike I guess Dior Sauvage Elixir, which is a beast of projecting. But how it works is, guys, most of the time the higher the perfume oils, the less it projects, and the less perfume oils, the higher it projects. So usually like an eau de cologne or eau de toilette will project very heavy and loud for the first maybe hour. And then something like this usually is a little bit more close to the skin and intimate, even though it lasts a long time. But for me, I got very loud projection with this one. I don't know if it's because of my spray routine. I am an oversprayer, I guess a lot of people would consider. But this is something that almost everybody around you is gonna smell, and if you walk around, they're gonna be left with this very kind of seductive, sexy, addictive fragrance scent mixed with that cardamom, raspberry, and leather, which makes for an incredible kind of combination. So be cautious. People are gonna compliment you. People are gonna ask you what you're wearing, maybe even track you down to find out what you're wearing, because it's that seductive. And guys, I'm not just saying that, I'm being completely honest. If you want a seductive, fruity, sexy fragrance, I think this is gonna do it, which is why I said this is primarily gonna be a date night fragrance for me. So above average with the longevity and projection, which is very rare to have. So this stuff is basically a beast mode fragrance. So hats off to Azzaro for making a banger elixir version of a Wanted, even though it's not really a version of Wanted since it sets itself apart completely. But man, I love the DNA. I'm a big fan of this kind of DNA combination with the raspberry, cardamom, and leather. I think it just works flawlessly. Definitely gonna give Tumi's 19 Degree a run for its money when it comes to this kind of genre. Because like I said, that's my favorite Tumi, and this might even be my favorite Wanted. But that's gonna do it for my review, guys. Let me know down below if you had the chance to try Forever Wanted Elixir, and also what is your favorite Wanted in the line, because they have so many at this point. It's even hard to keep track of, to be honest. But besides that, leave a like, subscribe below if you haven't already, and of course, I'll catch all of you back here in my next upload. Take care, everybody.